stumble in the dark. You kept pushing on, but then you went too far. When your ship has sailed and all your dreams are lost, everything is wrong, you feel like it's your fault. Just remember, I will be there for you, baby. Remember, there's nothing out there to get you, don't forget it. When life feels slow, just hold me. Just hold me. Just hold me. You're stronger now than you ever been. You gotta leave now, it's time to catch the wind.
After a fun night in a duel at the desert, we head now up to the northern part of the country here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, for what will be the fifth round of the TNT Truck Series season. It is here at the Milwaukee Mile. Good evening, everybody. My name is Frank Marchese. Thank you very much for making us a part of your evening here tonight. Alongside me, my broadcast partner, as always, Tony Trapasso, and a new name to the booth. We've seen him plenty of times here on the network, but brand new to the booth, Greg McConey. Guys, it is going to be a fun night. And Tony, we know what happened here last year. It could be another very close duel here tonight.
Well, you kind of expect that when you come to the tight confines like this track is. You know, the frustration level ramps up, especially in the closing laps. But hats off to the plow drivers and the guys running the snow blowers today to get this track cleared off and nice and dry for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And Greg, you know, coming over from actually racing in some of these series, we know you, of course, from the iRacing East, the Rowdy Energy Cup Series on Monday night, and the Circle B Diecast Series on Friday night. Milwaukee, a little bit different from what you guys usually race on, but still going to be a very fun night here in these trucks.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to these trucks and seeing what they're going to do here. It's going to be, from what I've seen in practice, real loose on entry, and you're really going to have to hold that car down on the exit here if you're going to have any shot at any kind of a run.
Well, the issue is they've got a crosswind that they're getting coming out of turn number 2 that's gusting up to 20 miles an hour. So, you know as well as I do, Greg, that's not the best option available at most times.
No, it really unsettles the car, especially if you're catching it on exit. It's really going to get that car loose, and it'll snap at you at random times. That's going to be the problem for most people, I think.
We'll be watching that all night long as we head now into the qualifying session. About halfway through qualifying, here is the points leader. Randy Bechdel crossing the line, and he will set the fastest time at a 30.28. So that will be pole time for him. Evan Pienta, slower than his previous lap. He will roll off, at least for the moment, in second if we see Scott Tompkins heading through turns 3 and 4. And guys, Randy Bechdel, we know he's been quick all season long. He's been the reigning defending 2-time champion here in this series. Won the last 2 races, and Tony, he's also snatched snatched 3 of the 4 poles this season. Looks like it could be 4 out of 5 tonight.
Absolutely, and you kind of expect that out of Randy. He's definitely got his game on point, and he's making a statement early this season that if anybody wants the championship, they got to go through him to get it again. And it's basically a replay of last season is what we're seeing this season.
Absolutely. He's already got out to a 37-point lead in the championship as we see one of his teammates, Ryan Jones, slide it in the middle of turns 3 and 4. We'll go now to one of the Payday Racing satellite teams. This will be Chris Hohn in the 85. Now, there was a new mandate that happened, Tony, over the course of the week that all drivers must take qualifying during the qualifying session. This was done in an effort to make it to where fast guys are not starting in the back and wrecking guys on their way to get to the front. Now, granted, we hadn't seen a lot of that this season, but this new rule done in an effort, much to the chagrin of a lot of drivers.
It is, but I can understand why the league is doing it, to try to eliminate some of the on-track incidents that happen because, one of the air quote fast guys that we normally see climbing through the field gets hung up behind 2 cars that are very much slower than they are, that are racing for position with that car. 3 wide is not a good idea except maybe at Talladega.
Absolutely. And Greg, you also know from experience, sometimes getting stuck behind drivers, slower drivers in the back of the field, can get you a little bit more impatient than what you would normally be heading up to the front of the field. And it you're prone to make more mistakes and more aggressive moves because you are so frustrated from coming up from the back of the field.
Exactly. You know, when you're one of those guys, you know you're fast. You know you can run the leaders down. And when you're getting stuck back in, even fifth place, just behind any kind of a slower car, your anxiety picks up. You want to run faster. You want to make that crazy move to get the clean air. And oftentimes it gets you in trouble.
Yep, absolutely. And that is what the league has decided to try to avoid by implementing that rule. So we will now go to the grid here for tonight's race. Randy Bechdel with a time of 30.275 gets his fourth pole of the season in the 5 qualifying attempts. Chris Smith, the second place finisher last week, will start to his outside. Evan Pienta and Jeff Pogo will make up row number 2. Chris Brown and Ryan Jones make up row number 3. Jonny Rapp and Ellis Thomas will sit in row 4, with Scott Tompkins and Chase Barry rounding out row number 5, Tony.
Jamie Leach and Chris Hohn rolling off in row number 6. Row 7 sees the 9 of Stephen Holmes and the 82 of Anthony Reynolds. Row number 8 is going to give us Mike Mock and Chandler Summers. Tommy Cannon and Paul Thomas rolling off in row number 9. Row 10 goes to Larry Poling, who was the last one to actually take a time in qualifying. Cody Levitt and Dan Dill rounding out our 21-car field here tonight.
And those drivers will be forced now, by that new rule, those drivers will be forced to pit start here tonight for not putting down a time in the qualifying session. We'll take a look now at the weather. Tony, as you had mentioned, it is a hot day. It is a very hot day as far as the track is concerned. 86-degree ambient temperature, 106-degree track temperature. And Greg, these guys are going to have to deal with winds gusting at about 19 miles an hour here for the next 200 laps.
Yeah. You combine that with a hot track, it's going to be a lot of slipping and sliding tonight.
Especially considering they've only got 3 sets of tires to get them through the 200 laps tonight.
It's going to be the big key here this evening. So as the field works its way through turns 1 and 2, Greg, we'll start with you. What are you going to be looking out for here tonight?
I think the big thing is going to be your entry to the corner early. You're going to want to really try and save that right front tire and not overdrive your entry. Locking up your rear brakes is going to get you around, and that's going to cause a big one.
Tony?
Yeah, absolutely. I have to agree with Greg, but the biggest thing is it's a late apex for this track in both corners, and you've got to get that right, and you've got to hope nobody tries to throw it up your inside when you do it.
So we will be watching those points all night long, and as we come out of turn number 4, the pace car is going to duck off onto the unique pit road here. Coming to the line, 200 laps from the Milwaukee Mile, we're green.
Randy Bechdel leads him into turn number 1 as he has Chris Smith right there on his outside. And Chris has to deal with Evan Pienta. Pienta got a good run, going to slot back into third, but they are side by side about 6 deep behind him.
Yeah, absolutely, and heading through, boy, right around the mid-pack there, you're talking 7th, 8th, right there, Jonny Rapp and Ellis Thomas battling side by side. And also, don't know if you noticed this as well, Greg, Evan Pienta giving Randy Bechdel a little bit of a shot right before we got to green.
Yeah, I think Randy kind of checked up a little bit, kind of anticipated the flag a little bit early, and you saw Evan right on the bumper ready to go. And I don't think there's anything that's going to cause any kind of an issue with him, but it's certainly something to keep an eye on in the future.
Both trucks looking fine as we get set to complete the second circulation of this 1 mile long racetrack, as Randy Bechdel leading once again from Chris Smith, Evan Pienta, Jeff Pogo maintaining that 4th position, and Ryan Jones has gotten up into the top 5. And Tony, those two were the main protagonists in the finish of this race last year, the one that got Ryan Jones sat down for a race.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that's what we were talking about with the tempers flaring later in the race. You know, the frustration sets in, and was it intentional? We're not Ryan Jones. We can't know for sure. But did he just yeet it going into turn 3 on Pogo? Absolutely, and it cost Pogo his first victory of the season.
Absolutely, and it gave Ryan Jones his first victory of the season. Take a look a little bit further back as Scott Tompkins. We're going to just one moment here.
I think Chris Hohn has gotten into the wall at some point because the right side of that truck is completely pancaked.
He might have done. Pardon me for doing this, but we're going to take a quick second to update some of the sound here. Apologize if it was really loud.
I know that feeling.
Just a second ago, we're taking corrective actions. There we go. Back to live pictures. As side by side here, this is just outside the top 10. Two guys that have had very good races back-to-back. Podium finishes for the guys running in 11th and 12th there, Jonny Rapp and Chandler Summers. Nice to get that momentum, Greg. See if it can help push you through the rest of the season.
No, absolutely. Any kind of momentum you get tends to carry over race to race. I'll tell you one guy I've kind of kept my eye on right now is this 80 of Ellis Thomas. He's kind of been cutting his way through the field, running this low entry and kind of diamonding the corner real well, and he's just been marching his way up.
And that's normally not a line around here that works that effectively. Traditionally, it's a late apex into both 1 and 3, and then you kind of straighten out coming off a 2 and 4. But the fact that Ellis Thomas is making that work is amazing.
And one thing about this racetrack, very much like New Hampshire, this is a racetrack that is very wide. You have room to maneuver around here, but also just like New Hampshire, it changes to a very narrow racetrack. Only 1 or 2 lanes in the corners can make it very, very difficult to get around, a seemingly easy track to get around.
Yeah, very much so. And, if we take a look at the line that Scott Tompkins is running as he's trying to chase down Chris Brown, Scotty seems to be using that later apex as Brown completely overshoots 3.
Have that run coming out of turn 4. Tompkins able to get under Chris Brown for the moment, and Greg, as you had mentioned before, keeping your car in control going into these corners. That's where Tompkins was able to make it. It's very much like road course racing. You want to outbrake and keep your car under control going on corner entry.
Yeah, you want to be throwing as much rear brake into this thing as you can because it just helps that car slow down so much. But the problem when you do that is it tends to make that rear end wheel hop real bad, and that's what you've really got to keep your eye on, especially on a flat track like this. It's real easy to get that rear end unsettled and get yourself into some big trouble.
Looking back up towards the front, Randy Bechdel having to fend off. That would be Dan Dill, again, one of the drivers who had to pit start here tonight for not setting a qualifying time. Randy Bechdel coming off way low on that inside, Tony, and really hurting his exit speed, allowing the 28 of Chris Smith to get right up to the back end of that number 51.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he doesn't want to do that too often because Smith will pounce. Because we know Chris is due. Plain and simple, Chris is 100% due. And if he could pull off a win here tonight at the Milwaukee Mile, I would not be surprised.
Would not be either, as Jeff Pogo dives to the inside of Evan Pienta going into turn 3. He'll make the move coming out of turn 4 in that Red Bull number 4 this week. Getting away from that typical Monster Energy Hoonigan number 4 that we seen last week. Did not have a good run at Phoenix. This week back at it with the Red Bull scheme, just the same way he was at this race last year. And marching his way up through the field, up into the top 3 for the first time here tonight is that number 4. A little bit further back, just inside the top 10, Stephen Holmes now battling with Jamie Leach in the number 13. This will be for the 8th position. As Holmes, he's also moving his way up to the front, +4 on the evening. And it's nice to find out, Greg, you have a very good truck early on in this race. Question's going to be after that, how do we keep the tires on it?
Yeah, that's going to be the key. I'm already starting to watch guys that have started to burn that right front off really get close to that wall on corner exit, especially coming out of 4. The guys that, if you've got a fast truck, the big key is keep it underneath you. Don't let this thing get out of hand. Don't overdrive your entry. You know you've got speed. And the guys that are going to be able to save those tires for that long run are going to have the advantage all night long.
Yeah, very much so. And that's going to be the key all night long, is making sure you protect that right front tire, and for that matter, the right rear tire, because it's very easy to just give it too much juice coming out of the corner. And we saw it a ton in the hot lap session. Guys would just loop it coming off of 2.
You can hear how long Stephen Holmes is off the throttle here as we ride on board with that TickleZombie.com number 9 machine.
Greg, are you familiar with the series sponsor?
Oh, boy.
I am not.
Well,
Tell me about it, Tony.
I'll tell you right now, Greg, if you want some awesome-looking T-shirt designs, you need to go to TickleZombie.com and take a look at what they've got available over there. I still am in love with the Speed Racer Schwinn T-shirt that they've got over there. Speed Racer with a Schwinn that's made it to look like the Mach 5. But they've got some great designs over there. Your wardrobe's gonna love it. Your wife's gonna love the fact that you've got new threads and you're not bumming around in the old ratty T-shirts that you're normally in.
I mean, I can't get to wear them anymore.
Probably not a good idea.
My entire wardrobe.
Not your entire wardrobe, but a good majority of it can be replaced by TickleZombie.com.
It's always pajama shirts that you need.
Yeah, that's very true.
Stephen Holmes still working on Jamie Leach. Meanwhile, just behind them, Chandler Summers working on Chris Brown. This is for the last spot in the top 10. Chris Brown steadily moving backwards, started 5th. He's fallen down to 10th. Chandler Summers steadily moving forward, started 16th. He's up to 11th. As the side-by-side battle between Holmes and Leach continues, Holmes to the inside going into turn 1. Outbreaks Jamie Leach going into the corner. Holmes up to 8th.
Here's one thing I've been... Oh, sorry,
ahead.
Tony.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, here's the one thing I've been watching with Holmes. He's one of the only few guys that is able to really hug that apron the entire corner. You know, here he's a little bit high, but he gets that really low exit, that late apex you were talking about.
Yep.
But even on entry, he's been able to stay lower than everybody else, and that's what's getting him around Leach. And as he marches his way up through the field.
And as he does march his way through the field, you can see the sun's peeking out behind the clouds. Track temperature's already gone up 2 degrees from where we started, now at 104. So expect this track to get greasier and greasier as this run wears on.
Does not make racing, especially on an old surface, easy. We saw that in real life at Fontana last week, how difficult it can be to keep tires under you on an old racing surface. Just behind Jamie Leach, that's who we were talking about, is Chandler Summers, still trying to get around Chris Brown, as Anthony Reynolds in the 82 starting to move up here in this field. Reynolds +2, so he hasn't moved too much, but hanging right to the back of Chandler Summers here, Tony. A solid run forming for that 82.
Yeah, absolutely. And Anthony's another one that's due. You know, he's had solid runs. It's just late in the race. I don't know if it's mental fatigue on his part or just bad luck, but he's been caught up in a lot of other people's dumpster fires and has not had the wins that are indicative of the runs he's had.
Anthony Reynolds has missed the first 2 races of the season, has been here for the last 3. So Reynolds a little bit further down in points than what we'd be expecting out of his performances last season. Halfway through this first stage here at Milwaukee, stage cautions will come out here tonight on laps 40 and 80, leaving a 120 lap run to the finish around here. 100% fuel fill. Ryan Jones up into that 4th position. Ellis Thomas in 5th. And Greg, as you were talking about before, guys burning off the right front tire. Evan Pienta appears to be one of those. He was as high as 3rd, now down to 6th and falling backwards.
Yeah, he's been struggling on exit, especially coming out of 2. He's lost a lot of time that way. That's how both Ryan Jones and Ellis Thomas got around him. But I'll tell you what, Ellis Thomas, he's somebody that we're going to have to keep an eye on later in this race. He's still hugging that bottom line. He's not chasing the car up the track like I've seen a couple other drivers do. So he's really holding on to that right front and right rear really well.
You could see just the difference in line on corner exit between the 80 and the 00. It's completely night and day. A lot straighter on corner exit, Tony. Meanwhile, Pienta taking it right out to that outside wall, almost hitting it there coming off at 2.
Yeah, he's really struggling right now to get the power down and keep that truck turning. He's completely burned the right front off. And, you know, we've seen Evan do this before in the past. He struggled here last year. You know, as good of a season as he did have, he was struggling at both of the 1 mile tracks last year.
And what was the name that we heard shouted out last week in the chat? Was it turn 4 wall Pienta?
Yes.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, unfortunately tonight it's going to be turn 2 wall Pienta.
That's what it's looking like at least. And for Pienta, we go back to season 5 in the Cup cars. He was very good on these short tracks. He completely dominated the race at North Wilkesboro, and on tracks that were shorter than a mile was definitely one of the guys to be wary of as a guy who could dominate from start to finish. Here tonight, at least, unless he hasn't really gotten the work on the tires, on the tire model, hasn't quite figured it out yet, as here comes Scott Tompkins. Big break for Tompkins, pushing both of them up the racetrack. This giving Stephen Holmes an opportunity to get up here and battle for position. Looking a little bit different, Pienta, tonight.
I mean, it kind of begs the question, and Greg, I'm sure you can attest to this, considering that the league we normally see you driving in changes vehicles just about every week. There's a real different feel between the Xfinity car, the Gen 6 car, and the truck. The truck seems like it's a little more top-heavy, and it punches such a big hole in the air that aero push is very much a real thing.
Oh, absolutely. There's so much rear downforce on this car that they are extremely tough to get turned. And if you look actually at the right side of that 00, he's got a little bit of damage on that right rear, and that's not going to help that car turn any better.
Yeah, absolutely not. The whole pancake on the left rear bedside, or right rear bedside, is definitely not helping his cause.
Just see over that ticklezombie.com logo that we have on screen right now, just how the paneling on the right side isn't necessarily lining up the way it does on the left. So Pienta has been in the wall at some point here in this run. Stephen Holmes still putting a lot of pressure on this 00, trying to take over that 7th position. Not missing anything up front. Randy Bechdel currently holding a 1.2 second lead over Chris Smith. Jeff Pogo has made an appearance up towards the top pair, as Pogo just now about 0.3 of a second and gaining on that 28. After last season, really not a surprise to see this 4 as good as he is right now, Tony.
Yeah, very much so. You know, Pogo, he said in the past this is one of his favorite tracks, and you know he's got the same paint scheme he had on here a year ago, and right up until the last corner of the final lap, he was having a great race.
Absolutely was. Is these 3 right here, first, second, and third, currently 5.5 seconds away from Ryan Jones in the 4th position. That will all go for naught in about 10 laps time when the stage caution comes out. And pit strategy here, you had said 3 sets of tires to get through the 200 laps. Greg, that really puts a question in your mind. We've seen some guys in this series this season with the 1 less set of tires try to stretch it as long as they can on this first set and then take the second set at the stage 2 caution. Being put in this situation for the first time, would you want the fresh tires here, or at the stage 2 break?
I'd rather have them at the stage 2. I think with only 3 sets, you're really going to be pushing it, and especially with that last one being 120. Oh, almost got a wreck there. With 120 laps in that last segment, I'd want to have 2 sets of tires there. I think that's just going to be the best way because on a short track like this, even with 21 guys, you got a good chance for a late race caution of somebody getting a little too aggressive. And at that point, I want to be the guy that maybe gave up some spots, maybe gave up a few stage points early on in the race, but has that fresh set of tires at the end to really put on a run.
Jeff Pogo makes the pass on Chris Smith. That will put him into second place. Jamie Leach now putting a pass on the 00 of Evan Pienta. That will put him up into the 8th position. 3 cars, not running on the lead lap. There's Dan Dill in the 81. He is set between the 3rd and 4th place drivers on track. The 42 of Paul Thomas. He's been in the wall. You can see from the right side of that machine. He's been in the wall a couple of times tonight. Larry Poling just behind him, the last of the 21 runners. And Mike Mock might get saved by the bell here as we've got the stage break coming up in 5 laps. Might, if he can hang on just enough or get past at the right time, Tony, could be the lucky dog going into this stage.
Yeah, and we've seen Mike running in this position before, and when everybody else came down to pit during one of the stage breaks, Mike actually led a handful of laps coming out of the stage break because he used that pit strategy to his advantage.
Yep, and that was back at Fontana where he won stage 2 at Auto Club Speedway a couple of weeks ago. Here is Cody Levitt, another one of the drivers that did not take qualifying time. Levitt up to the 15th spot thus far, having a little bit better of a run than the 11 is at the moment. Just past Chris Hohn for 15th, trying for 14th here just before the stage break. Everyone else now separated by about a second, except for Ellis Thomas and Scott Tompkins, as those two battling for stage points, trying to get the top 5 spots. Here, Ellis Thomas, Greg, your guy here tonight, currently occupying that 5th spot. Scott Tompkins has about 2 laps to get into it.
Yeah, and watching Ellis Thomas, he's just running a bit of a defensive line. He's kind of moved his entry down a little bit to make sure that Tompkins can't do a big dive bomb coming onto him into the corner. But like we've said all night, Ellis just gets that nice straight run off. Actually, you see him throwing a block here. 25 is going to get underneath him, yeah. But even still, with this, try and keep the side draft. Maybe try the crossover move going back into 1 if you can get a big enough run. Doesn't look like he's going to have the speed to do it, though.
Ellis Thomas looked like he threw it into turn 1 big time, though. Didn't get the run off of turn 4 that he was looking for to try to make that move. Let's go up to turn 4, as that would mean Randy Bechdel is coming out of it. He will cross the line, and once again, Randy Bechdel will take stage number 1 on the season. On this race. It's about his 4th or 5th stage win of the season.
I think 5th.
He has been dominant.
Because he did 1st and 3rd at the season opener. 2nd at the season opener, 1st and 3rd in the 2nd race. And at Fontana, he did, he led everything.
That he won everything at Phoenix as well, so that would be, on that math, it would be 7 stage wins.
No, I'm sorry, 1st and 3rd at Fontana.
As field catching up to the pace car. And we will see. I'm sure we'll see everybody come into pit to try to top off for fuel. But as far as tires go, Some of the guys towards the back might try it, but Greg, I think you're right. Guys up here at the front are going to stick to that strategy that they've had all season long. They're just going to take fuel only here.
I think that's just the right move, in my opinion. Now, certainly somebody's going to do it. I wouldn't be surprised if you see a set of rights go on. But, maybe if you're Evan Pienta, you might take a set of tires here because you've seen yourself falling back. But it'll be interesting to see. We'll keep an eye out here on who gets on and off pit road the quickest.
Ryan Jones with a splash and dash. 6 seconds stationary in his box. Takes the lead of the race. What a pit stop by the 7 of Ryan Jones.
Hit those marks dead on perfect so that the virtual pit crew knew where their marks were, hit their marks, and yeah, I mean, that's stop of the night so far.
The other interesting thing with that is he's probably only took enough just to get to the end of the stage. He may not have filled that tank completely, which is why you saw him get out a little bit faster than those around him.
Now, while he may have won the race off of pit road, he will not be the leader, at least for the moment. Coming to the green here to begin stage number 2, Jonny Rapp did not come into pit at all in his number 52. He has decided to stay out, not really to much of a disadvantage, seeing as though nobody took tires.
Yeah, but you got to wonder what the fuel strategy is going to look like.
The other interesting thing with it may be that he tries, I think you'd lose a lap if you try and came down a couple laps ahead of the stage end to take tires, but you never know. Somebody may try it to gain that advantage going into that last stage and stay out.
Jonny Rapp, the only driver that has not gone down pit road, aside from Chris Hohn in the 85, he did not go down pit road either. Mike Mock, pardon me. Wow. About to get the wave around here as he did not pit either. So after getting lapped with about 5 laps to go in the stage, then getting passed by Dill to lose the lucky dog spot, Mike Mock stays out to get the wave around. As we are getting set to go back to green flag racing here, stage caution will come out again on lap number 80 here tonight. So we've got a good 35 more laps of racing to go here before we see another break, and then it is all the way to the end. Greg, why don't you do the honors and take us back to green?
Absolutely. You got Jonny Rapp. He's going to be on the inside here as the pace car is getting ready to dive off onto pit road. Rapp's going to hold him back, and now green flag's in the air. Jonny Rapp gets a good run, but Ryan Jones gets a really good run as they dive into one. He's going to try and dive in, stay as close as he can to that right rear corner of the 52, and you see him get this little better run here. And I think this straightaway off that second line is going to give Ryan Jones a lead coming into the 30.
As if he's done it before, as here comes Ryan Jones on that outside line. His teammate Randy Bechdel pushing him through. Not quite clear of the 52. Now he is coming off the corner. 52 gets the run. But it will be the 7 of Ryan Jones leading the lap in the outside line, Tony, at least for the moment. Possibly just a pace difference, an aggression difference as well. Gets that 7 out in front on the high line.
Well, I dare say it's because nobody took tires under this this first set of pit stops. I think Cody Levitt's the only one that did.
Jeff Pogo might have. 15-second pit stop for Pogo.
Yeah, that'd be foreign fuel. But, considering that not too many guys took tires, that second lane is where we see the dividends being paid later in the run. You want to be in that second lane so you can carry the momentum, and that's what Jones was able to do. in that side-by-side situation as Proto continues his climb back up through the field.
Jonny Rapp finishing in the 3rd position last week at Phoenix, now battling to try to keep 2nd. Started 2nd did Rapp last week.
And he's got 2 very angry wolves right behind him in the form of Randy Bechdel and Chris Smith. And Scotty Tompkins right there as well.
Absolutely is. Trying to take a look here back at past records here for Jonny Rapp. His previous best finish in the series was 5th at the season finale at Kansas last season. Before that podium finish last week. As Bechdel getting a little bit jumbled up and bogged down behind Jonny Rapp at the moment, keeping Chris Smith nice and close.
This is where you kind of where we talked about earlier of having to stay patient, being behind a car that you know you're quicker than, and not making a move that's going to get you in trouble.
And for Randy Bechdel, who did not face a lick of traffic at all through the first 40 laps of this race, this is also kind of a learning experience for him, I would have to imagine, Tony, being stuck in traffic for the first time tonight.
Yeah, this is the first time he's ever had to experience the aero push here at the Milwaukee Mile. And he's got Chris Smith giving him a ton of pressure right now. And I don't think Bechdel's liking the situation that he's in, being as he's kind of mired behind Jonny Rapp as he's just watching his teammate walk away.
Domination here at Milwaukee is nothing new for this number 51. Led 101 laps last season, started 2nd and finished 4th, did Randy Bechdel. So this was one of those races that kind of got away for Randy that he would reference over the course of the season last year. Unfortunately for Chris Smith, it seems to be more of the same from last week. Just can't quite get a good enough run to get a pass done around here, Greg.
I think he's actually backing off a little bit as you see the 52 go high, and that's going to let Randy and Chris get by at least. But what I was watching with Chris is he had a lot of opportunities to get underneath Randy, because Randy was really leaving that bottom line open at the apex of the corner. But Chris was just backing off that little bit, doing that same thing, not wanting to get himself in trouble by making a move like that, possibly getting Randy around.
And more importantly, he's saving his tires doing it that way.
Yeah, you want to keep especially right now with tires being so worn, you really need to be careful and keep as much clean air on your nose as you can get.
Jonny Rapp now starting to fall backwards, was in 2nd at the beginning of the last lap. He's now fallen all the way down to 7th. And that train on the inside, very akin to Martinsville, just letting him have it because he could not find an opening on that inside line to get back down. Around him goes Chris Brown in that number 1. Will Jamie Leach be charitable in the 13 here? I don't think so. Might have some room, though, behind Leach, but nope. Stephen Holmes covers that up.
Yeah, Johnny's just getting caught up.
That was just a big move coming off of 4.
Ellis Thomas. Seeing a lot of those, seeing a lot of blue and yellow here tonight, and if you've paid any form of attention to what's been going on in the world, you'll completely understand why, as both of those ST2 Motorsports cars in this field tonight, the number 80 and the number 28 of Chris Smith and Ellis Thomas, both racing some Stand for Ukraine machines. So around goes Evan Pienta in the back, and that will be a caution.
Well, that's no bueno.
Not typically.
It looks like he might have had some help.
Take a look.
Yeah, and you see the 3 got hit after that as well. He's got a good bit of damage on that rear end.
So Pienta looked like he tried to diamond the corner, and Levitt wasn't ready for it.
And then Levitt got ran flat over from behind as well.
By Tommy Cannon. take a look and see from above what happens.
It kind of looked like, and I don't mean this as a dig on anyone, but the normal oval mentality, and Greg, you can back me up on this one if you choose to, is you turn in, stay down low, and then exit off. With this track, that late apex, you can tell the guys that aren't aware that that's the better line to take around here, and they throw it to the inside, and next thing you know, you've got carnage.
Yeah, this is one of those, like we said, this has, unlike a traditional oval where the apex is the dead center of the corner, if not a little bit before, here it's so late because the exit of these turns just drags on so much longer. It's not a true oval or a true D-shaped oval. So that really makes it interesting for guys, and you're going to see it. Like we said there were a couple guys diamonding the corner, running that slightly different line, and if you're not ready for it or anticipating them to kind of chop your nose back off on exit, you're going to get into incidents like this.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, absolutely. And you saw the damage on the back end of the number 3 of Cody Levitt. And that was unfortunate for him because he may have given Pienta a little bit of a nudge, but he certainly, the punishment certainly did not fit the crime for that, as Tommy Cannon completely ran him over. They got into it again, and Pienta also caught a little bit of the 82 of Anthony Reynolds with him.
Yeah, and you hate to see that for anybody, but Anthony Reynolds, he's had some good runs, and it just goes back to what we were talking about earlier. He gets caught up in other people's dumpster fires.
Absolutely is. Ryan Jones will lead them down. Randy Bechdel to his outside. Chris Smith, Scott Tompkins, Jeff Pogo, Ellis Thomas. Tony, take it away.
As the field works its way into the 3-4 complex behind that beautiful iRacing pace car.
Hey, he's coming around.
And I'm not. That was sarcasm. Lights should be going out this time by. Dan Dill has decided to put it on the hauler. So Jones, Bechdel, Smith, Tompkins, Pogo, Thomas, Brown, Leach, Holmes, and Reynolds, your top 10 as they sit right now. The two teammates in the front of this piece. And I dare say with those two guys working together, the entire rest of the field are sitting ducks here. They're going to have to really be on their game if they want to get by those two teammates up at the front. Payday Racing continues to show the way. Ryan Jones has the button as he's going to have Chris Smith and Jeff Pogo in tow. So, and we know there's no love lost between Pogo and Jones, so we're going to have to pay attention to that one should they get side by side. Field work its way into the 3-4 complex. Pace car getting ready to haul it on off on that peculiar pit road entry that they've got here at the Milwaukee Mile. Jones has the button. As soon as the pace car twitches, expect him to go. Pace car is in, green flag is out, and we are back underway working lap 60 of 200.
The green flag got scrubbed off of that last lap. I'm not entirely sure why. Didn't see anything too out of the ordinary as Chris Smith jumps to the inside of the 51 of Randy Bechdel, and that would be huge to be able to split those guys up, but there's no splitting up the middle of this field. They are 2 by 2, 3 abreast here throughout this field. Jonny Rapp came in to take tires under that last caution. He's up into 9th, and boy, he's got some pace in that number 52 now.
Yes, he does. As he's making his way up through the field rather quickly, already up into the top 10 one more time as Jones and Smith show the way.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting with Rapp on those fresh tires. With 20 to go, I don't expect him to come in and take tires at the stage break, but certainly here he's got to use every ounce of tire that's left in those that he just picked up to get himself up to that front, and he definitely can do it.
We saw it at Auto Club, guys deciding to come in and pit during a mid-stage caution and pick up big-time stage points, and it's exactly what Jonny Rapp is looking to employ right now. like we had mentioned before, Mike Mock winning the second stage at Fontana on that strategy, and a big dive just completely outbreaks the one of Chris Brown down into turn number 3. And Greg, you're talking about during the beginning of the race being able to keep your car under control under braking. Heck of a lot easier to do that on new tires as compared to old.
Oh, absolutely. And you see it here. He's able to dive in so much deeper than everybody else, and that's going to be the advantage he has. It's not necessarily going to get him any more straightaway speed, but it's going to give him so much more security on entry and exit that it's going to help him set up passes just like you saw there, diving underneath the 25 going into 3.
Mincemeat of Scott Tompkins. And also we talk about, Tony, getting into the corner, the dive going into the corner. You also have that rear end grip to help you out. So it's not necessarily that you're getting more speed down the straightaway. It's just you're able to get to that top speed quicker.
Yeah, you've got so much more drive off as he's now working the backside of Jeff Pogo. And just in as many laps, he's already climbed back into contention for a podium. As far as the stage break goes, is we are going to have, it's like 16 to go this time across the stripe till the next stage end. Jonny Rapp may have chosen right here if he's looking to gain as many bonus points as he can.
Chris Smith starting to tumble a little bit down the field. He's down to 6th, restarted in the 3rd position. Now here comes Jonny Rapp once again looking for the inside. This is for 3rd on Jeff Pogo, and he will take that 3rd position fairly easily. And now he's only got 2 more cars and 15 laps to get him. As these stage points, they may not seem like a lot, Greg, but you start to pile them up over the course of a season, they could mean a heck of a lot to you come the end of the year.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And the interesting thing, I've been kind of watching their lap times. Jonny Rapp's been running about 2 to 3 tenths of a lap quicker than the leaders in there in clean air, and he's been fighting his way through traffic. If he gets a chance to get out front, he can definitely pull away.
Certainly can, as now he's looking to the inside of Randy Bechdel for that 2nd position, and Rapp on the binders going into the turn, able to make that position count yet again. Only a half a second to spare between Ryan Jones and that 52 of Jonny Rapp. 13 laps to make the move. A little bit further back in the field, another one of those payday machines looking to get into the top 10. That's Chase Barry looking to the inside of Chandler Summers, and you can see some right rear damage, Tony, on the back end of that beautifully painted number 17.
Yeah, absolutely. He got the chrome horn by somebody earlier on, and that's the tattletale that he had somebody faster around him. As Rapp now looks to the inside of Jones going into 3. Jones just going to let him go. Apparently realizes just how much quicker he is. But to bring up a point you brought up earlier, Frank, about the bonus points, your current points leader, Randy Bechdel, has 73 bonus points on the season. And most of those are because of stage points.
Yep, stage points, most laps led is a bonus as well. I believe, if I remember correctly, I believe leading a lap is a bonus point.
Leading 1 lap or more is a bonus point. Leading the most laps is a bonus point. Stage points, they invert from the top 10. So first place gets 10, 10th place gets 1. And there's also pole position.
Yep, pole position. And again, Bechdel has taken 4 out of 5 of those this season. So the top 4 have broken away by about a second. Scott Tompkins starting to run away from Chris Brown, has a half a second between himself and that number 1 machine. Looking back again, Chase Barry has already made work of one ST2 Motorsports machine. That would be Ellis Thomas, starting to work on the back of Chris Smith, who Greg just has not found the pace in that truck since we've gone back to Green Flag Racing.
No, he's been struggling, and it's really been the effect of burning that right front. He's struggled so much getting into and rotating through the center of these corners that that's where he's getting killed. But the interesting thing with that 17, I'm wondering if he's started to back off and save those tires, and planning possibly to not come down during the next stage. Because you got to think, if you can come in 3-5 laps ahead of the group that's going to come in now, you're going to have that tire advantage of potentially a second to a second and a half faster tires when those guys are running on old tires, just waiting to get to their marks to take that set to take them to the end.
Yeah, but the problem is taking 4 sets of tires here under green flag conditions, you're going at least 2 down.
It is, but you also, the key to remember with that, in my opinion, is that the leaders are going to do the same thing. And if you can do that and really take advantage of those tires when you get them coming back to green, even if you get 2 laps down, you've got a good shot to get your at least 1 lap back the hard way, and then you'll get another lap back while they're sitting in the pits.
Well, if he's going to do something, he's going to need to do it now, because we are quick approaching that second stage break, Frank.
Yep, we absolutely are, as we're watching off the back of Jamie Leach right now, looking back at that 17. And Tony, we've seen it all season long, a very different approach on this season for Chase Barry, a more lay about as far back as you dare to lay back, and then at the end of the race start to make that run back up towards the front and try to get some positions at the end of the race. So it appears as though now he's trying to set himself up the best he possibly can for the next stage. He did come in under that caution 13.5 second pit stop, so maybe took 2 tires, maybe just sat there, took fuel only, and repaired some of that damage. But whatever happened, that 17 really started making charge to the front.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it has to do with the fact that, look who his teammates are. He's got Ryan Jones, who's quick everywhere we go. He's got Randy Bechdel, who's quick everywhere we go. And they've kind of taught him how to conserve his tires. As right now he's working on the inside of Leach, as Leach went real high and had to check up to avoid hitting the turn 4 wall. He's able to save his tires. He's learning how to conserve that right front and protect it like it's his firstborn child.
Absolutely. As you see Chase Barry running in that 7th position now, as we're coming down to the final couple of laps here in this stage. Now the question could be, was it a case of too much too soon for one Jonny Rapp? Because while he was able to get away from Ryan Jones, he hasn't been able to get away and put distance. Not that it's going to matter. It's all going to be for naught in the next couple of laps or so. But if he really pushed those tires too much here in this stage, Greg, this could set him up for a really bad position next stage.
It could, but what I think he's been doing, he's still running about a 10th faster than Jones behind him. And I think, honestly, Johnny's now, he's gotten out front. There's no need to keep pushing. Like you said, we got the stage break coming up in 3 laps. There's no need to go out and tear your tires up and run as hard as you can. And I think that's the same thing that Barry's doing back in 7th. If I were those guys, come in, top off with fuel, but I'm not taking another set of tires. I would use that advantage, get out front, get some clean air, and having pitted when they did, I would be trying to save as much tire as I can right now.
Chase Barry has chance for one more position, and that's the one he's got right in front of him. It would be against Scott Tompkins. Jeff Pogo looking to the inside of Randy Bechdel, trying to get 3rd here. Just as the stage is about to end, Pogo trying to roll the corner. Looks like he's got the position for the moment, but coming to the line, it will be Jonny Rapp taking his first stage victory of the season. And the Stage 2 win goes to the man who finished 3rd last week. Randy Bechdel just does beat Jeff Pogo to the line.
That was about the length from the front bumper to the center line of the front axle. That was one of the closest battles we've seen all night long so far, or seen all season so far, I should say, coming to a stage break. And Bechdel did what he had to do. He's using that second lane to his advantage, and that's something we've seen. And you guys can both attest to this because you've driven on this new tire model. Since this latest tire model has come out, we've seen the second lane able to defend more effectively than ever before in iRacing history.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Normally at a flat track like this, you know, it acts a lot like Martinsville. It's the same thing. You want to hug that bottom line. But being able to kind of come in now with this tire model, roll that, you know, half a lane to a lane up, at least on entry and then on exit, it really gives you a good run going down these straightaways.
Yeah, just outside that dark strip of repave in the inside of both corners.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You're good.
I was going to say the advantage with that is you want to be sitting your lefts in that black and your rights in the lighter gray that you're seeing for the track.
Right. So you just put the lefts in that repave and let the right sides eat on the outside. And that seems to be where all the speed is coming from tonight.
It's almost like turn 3 at Pocono before the complete reconfiguration.
Yes.
So Jonny Rapp will undoubtedly win the race off of pit road.
Fuel only, and everybody else took tires.
Yep. As everyone gets their first set of tires done, we're going to have about 115 laps to the finish. But before we get there, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. You're watching the TNT Truck Series presented by the United Sim Racing Association right here on ESBN. Just about to go back to green flag racing here for the start of the third and final segment of the race here tonight. Ryan Jones takes the green flag and we are back underway. We saw during the side-by-side a commercial break of Jonny Rapp deciding to come down pit road, surrender that race lead, and around goes the one as he's decided to surrender traction, and that will be caution number 2 of the evening.
Run. That's a sticky wicket.
And that was also coming as Jeff Pogo got really up close and personal with 2 of the payday cars right off the jump. Take a look and see what happened with Chris Brown here. Go up above and just lost it on his own. Fresh tires. First time in 85 laps he got a chance to do that. And so around he went.
Yeah, this new tire model, like we were talking about before the break, one of the big changes that's come is cold tires don't get the grip like they used to with the old tire model. So it's real easy to break them loose, especially the first 2 to 3 laps before they come in. And that's exactly what you just saw there with Chris Brown.
One thing I do want to point out with that spin, we saw how light that one hit that inside wall, Tony. One thing I really hope that gets addressed as we get closer now, we're a couple days away from week 13. We're a couple days away from the season 2 build. I really hope that the damage gets addressed, because stuff like that, a light tap of the wall like that, say last week at Auto Club, completely ruined your race. That something that light shouldn't kill your night. It should barely be noticeable in the car.
Yeah, they're using a lot lighter of a tin work algorithm. The side panels on these trucks, they're sheet metal, but they're not as light of a sheet metal as iRacing is making it out to be. And, they do hold their shape a little bit better than what the current damage model would indicate. And you're right, it shouldn't affect you that much, but I can see why they've done it, and it's kind of to get guys away from the theory of wall riding.
As if wall riding worked on anything other than at New Hampshire in NASCAR 09.
Irwindale.
It's Irwindale. Who's running a Cup Series race in Irwindale?
I've done that before.
Well, I mean, you know what I mean. As under our second caution of the night, we have a lot coming up here over these next couple of days. We got 6 races over the next 3 days, and 4 of them in one night. Tomorrow night, starting off with you, Greg, the Circle B Diecast Super Speedway Series. You guys should be going to Talladega this week, right? You messed with me and you went to Daytona last week.
We did, yeah. We're at Talladega this week in the next-gen cars. We're going back there for the second time this year. And I'll be brutally honest, now that they've updated this car model, I am in love with it. These next-gen cars are so much fun to drive. It is fantastic.
Well, there you go, echoing the sentiments of the actual Cup drivers as well. Then about an hour after that will be the KMM New Gen Cup Series. They will be at Las Vegas Motor Speedway at 9:20 p.m. Eastern Time. And then the first 2 races of the Sunday quadruple header will be the iFormula Championship. They will be at Imola at 3:20 p.m. Eastern Time. Tony, you should be in the booth, I believe. Yes, for ISNF Cup Series. They will be at Bristol on the asphalt. So after a difficult race last week at Martinsville, sticking with the short stuff, going to Bristol this week.
Actually be in the booth for both of those.
Oh, there you go.
And you, I don't believe you mentioned the new league that we've got starting up tomorrow night. Wicked Sim Racing, their Cup Series makes its debut on Friday night here.
So we got 7 series popping up over these next 3 days. If you want some iRacing, sim racing, ESPN is definitely the place to be, as Ryan Jones gets a big jump, and somebody, I believe it was Scott Tompkins on the outside, didn't go.
He spun his tires. It still has cold tires on that truck, and yeah, that unfortunately just stacked up an entire outside lane.
Chase Barry, the 3 wide down the back straightaway. Evan Pienta making it 4 wide going into turn 3. Pienta very fortunately backs out of it. There's still 3 wide. That's Chris Hohn on the inside, Anthony Reynolds on the outside, and Ellis Thomas is the one that wins out, making it through the middle.
And Greg, I'm sure you can attest to this. The worst thing you can hear your spotter say in this simulator is 3 wide, you're the meat.
Yep. Especially, and here, these kind of tracks, you're worried about just getting bumped. If you're at like a super speedway and you hear 3 wide, you're in the middle, you're going to the back.
Speaking of hoping not to get bumped, Jeff Pogo gets around Ryan Jones, and I think Ryan Jones gave him enough space to fit the entire city of London in between those two as Jones now going back to the inside. Jeff Pogo trying to keep that position for the race lead, could not do it. So Ryan Jones back to the point as it appears as though that squabble just outside the top 10 has been settled, and it appears as though Ellis Thomas, a little bit of a nudge there from the 4, was not reciprocated as Jeff Pogo sends the 7 Wild into 7th position, now falling back to 8th.
You're coming up on halfway now. It's a little early to be trying to move like that.
There's a story behind that one, and I'll forgive you for not knowing it. But there's
What's good for the goose is good for the gander.
Yeah, there's a story behind that one, and
that
Jeff
was
Pogo,
a receipt from last season.
Yep, Jeff Pogo reminded me this week that he has not forgotten about it either. And a little bit of a nudge sends Ryan Jones from battling for the lead to battling for 8th.
We don't forget about somebody getting into us? Huh, it's not like a racer at all.
Oh, absolutely not.
No.
Take a look at that contact again here. This going into turn 3, same corner it happened last year, and that was actually net code between the two. He never touched him. We're just riding on board with Jeff Pogo, and there was about 2 to 3 feet of room between those two trucks.
Yeah, but try to tell that to Ryan.
Oh, right now, absolutely, I agree with you.
And I'll tell you what, Ryan is struggling right now. He is really having trouble keeping that car rolling correctly on center exit.
We just saw that from the overhead view, and my goodness, you want to talk some net code? That was horrendous net code between the 4 and 7.
I could have wheeled my fat crippled ass between those two in my wheelchair.
And Ryan Jones is coming down pit road. What is happening now with the 7?
Excellent question.
I guaranteed not happy is that 7 of Jones. Looks like he's
Probably
taking his
not.
4-tire stop now.
A little early on that one, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, it's a lot earlier than I'd want to be coming in, but he's sitting too. I think he's fixing damage, possibly.
That's what it looks like.
I'm wondering if he may have, because you see that damage on the left rear. That's not enough damage that it would have caused any kind of a required repair in my mind.
No, absolutely not. We're seeing it now. That's less of a crinkle than what the 1 of Chris Brown got. And Brown's back up to 7th.
Yeah, Ryan Jones is still sitting on pit road right now.
I mean, and again, we took a very harsh stance against Jones last season for what happened between him and Pogo on the final lap. And I know broadcasters sometimes they get the bad rap of trying to make something look bigger than what it was. And to be fair, when I saw what happened live, I was looking over at timing and scoring and just happened to see the 7 get sideways. Didn't see what happened, but we saw from not just the onboard replay of Pogo, but the overhead replay that there was so much room between those two trucks. That was not Pogo getting into the 7. That was just poor luck on some seriously bad net code. And I think Jones is now done.
He did. He just put it on the hauler.
And that was purely net code between the 4 and the 7. But in any event, now this is Pogo's chance to try to run away with this and claim the victory that he lost last season off the front end of that 7. As Chris Smith looks to battle Scott Tompkins for the final spot on the podium.
I do want to thank everybody that's tuning in right now on the live stream. Go ahead and drop a comment with who you're pulling for tonight. We know our good friends at Tickle Zombie are going to be pulling for the 9 of Steve Holmes, as he currently rides in the number 8 spot. But, let us know. Who are you pulling for? And if you haven't done so already, hit that thumbs up button. It really helps with the YouTube algorithm to help share this video with more racing fans. And if you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button and turn on bell notifications. Because as Frank mentioned, just in the next 72 hours, we have 7 races that we are going to be covering.
Absolutely, and I also just looked at the sub count here, up to 2.2K, which is a rate of growth that we were not expecting.
Got to thank everybody for that's subscribed so far, and
Absolutely.
again, if you haven't done so already, do so if you like what you're seeing right now. This is one of the premier leagues that you're going to find on a Thursday night. The TNT Truck Series by USRA, sponsored by TickleZombie.com. It doesn't get any better than this on a Thursday.
Absolutely. And Greg, I know you haven't subscribed yet. So,
yes, I have. I've been subscribed since you guys started our broadcast.
And that was when I started here. So that's almost 2 years ago now.
It'll be 2 years. 2 years in 2 months.
Yep, 2 years at the end of June. The middle of June, rather.
Oh, it's the end of May. You did Indy with us.
Oh, yeah, you're right. 100% correct.
And I'll attest from the racer side, the 2 guys that you've got in the booth right now are absolutely fantastic. They broadcasted our Super Speedway League couple years for the last few years. Frank's raced with us, Tony's raced some with us, but I was in the booth last night with Angel. That was a fantastic broadcast. He is a heck of a broadcaster. So the guys here at ESPN, from a racer standpoint, going back and watching these races, it makes it so much fun hearing the energy and the excitement that you two and everybody else at ESPN brings to these broadcasts.
Well, there's sometimes where we feel like we've got to give Angel a boxing to calm him down a little bit, but other than that, yeah, no, he's got a lot of energy in the booth.
And see that right there, in 2 years, we have not gotten that perspective in the broadcast booth. So thank you very much for
Much appreciated, Greg.
For that unique endorsement. As Scott Tompkins has his hands full right now with Chris Smith as the self butt kissing segment is over.
Am I the first racer turned broadcaster, part-time broadcaster with you
Second.
guys?
Third.
Oh, all right.
No, we've had a couple. Jonathan Leach, our the head of what is now SRM LLC. Congratulations to Sim Racing Media for that one, by the way.
The parent company of the Esports
yes.
Broadcasting Network now.
Yep. Was actually with this series before, and then bowed out to call the rest of the races with me. From there, got the broadcasting itch, created SRM, and then we saw what happened at the middle of last year with us.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
SRM.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and there were. I'll admit I had my trepidations when the merger was first announced, but I honestly think that Cliff, James, and John and Angel are right on top of things as far as seeing the vision that we were seeing, that we wanted to go to. We just didn't know how to get there before they took over. So, the fact that they've gotten the LLC in place, and we're bringing all these new leagues in. We have the staff to be able to bring 2, 3, 4 broadcasts a night and not tire everyone out. They've done a great job.
Looking through here, Jake Editor, Let's Go Chandler Summers. Been watching him over these last couple of laps. Summers right now in the 8th position, is the biggest mover of the race, +8 tonight in that number 12. But look who is starting to recover from an earlier spin. Evan Pienta running right behind him in that number 9. Double zero, rather.
Yeah, I was going to say.
In the number 9 position. That's where my mind was.
There you go.
And Chris Brown in the 1, while being scored as the 136, but the 36 is very tiny on that truck. But, Chris Brown doing a great job to recover from the spin he had.
Absolutely is. Jeff Pogo right now. We'll take a little bit of a trip through the field here. Jeff Pogo and Randy Bechdel about 0.4 of a second out ahead between these two, and about a second and a half separating the 25 and 28, who are right behind him. The solo flyer of Jamie Leach currently rounding out the top 5 in the 5th position, the highest he's been tonight. Stephen Holmes, also a solo flyer, running in 6th. That is the number 9. Then it's Ellis Thomas, who has just broken away from the group that we've had our eye on of him, Summers, Pienta, Chris Brown, and Chase Barry now getting into the mix. That is 7th through 11th positions on track. Anthony Reynolds trying to hold off Chris Hohn. Hohn looking for his highest finish in the TNT Truck Series. Hohn debuting at the beginning of this season back at Las Vegas. Looking for his best finish. Also Cody Levitt running in that 14th position with the heavy rear end damage that he had, courtesy of the driver behind him. That would be Tommy Cannon in the 15th position in the 47. Jonny Rapp, who we saw pit early, he's had some big time contact with somebody as the back end of that number 52 is completely caved in on his ride. Mike Mock there as well. In 17th, Larry Poling. Trundling along in 18th, Paul Thomas, a good 5 seconds behind him, and the leaders are not that far off of him. Thomas, the last driver running on track, in 19th. Ryan Jones and Dan Dill, the only 2 retirees here this evening. So we've got a couple of close packs, this one being one of them. All separated by a good amount of time, as Randy Bechdel now starting to really put the pressure on the Jeff Pogo for the race lead there, Greg.
He is, but I've kind of kept my eye on this battle of 8th through 11th of Pienta, Brown, Summers, and Barry. Evan is really kind of having a little bit of trouble on these corner exits, especially out of 4 again. He's kind of burned that right front and that right rear. He's moved up to 8th, but he's really kind of starting to struggle a little bit, and he's searching for that grip and that kind of speed. And I think that's kind of holding up Chris Brown, Summers, and Barry a little bit. As you see here, you've got the 17 of Barry getting underneath Summers. Now, Barry, under that last caution at the stage break, took 2 rights. So he's still got a second set of lefts sitting in the pits, trying to use that 2-tire strategy to his advantage here. As you see, he is able to get ahead of the 12 of Chandler Summers as they go into 3.
Evan Pienta now starting to come under fire, Tony, from Chris Brown. And we've seen a couple of very good runs out of Chris Brown this season. We saw him a lot in Season 5 in the Cup Series. Missed him quite a bit in Season 6 last year. Back here for Season 7, and right now having a very good start to the season, running 3rd place in points. And that's a big pass that he just made, because the man who he's chasing right now, not just Randy Bechdel, is Evan Pienta, and he just got around him on track for 8th.
Yeah, absolutely. As you know, Brown is just on rails right now, trying to make up some ground. He's been fast all night.
Double zero.
Wow, watch it, watch it.
Save
Woo!
it. That's a save.
Wow.
So continue your thought, Tony, with the new information
I
we
think
just
I need to
got.
go clean out my fire suit, because I'm up here in the booth and I was white knuckling that one. Holy cow. But yeah, Brown is just, he had an amazing recovery drive so far. And I dare say he'd be way further up the field than he is, probably in the top 5 right now, if it wasn't for the fact that he had that spin under the last caution.
But again, it was his own doing, unfortunately. Just got a little bit too antsy on the gas on fresh tires for the first time since the start of the race, and spun it right around there. As Evan Pienta has once again been passed by Chase Barry in the number 17, and Chandler Summers in the 11th position now, trying to get himself back up into the top 10. Scott Tompkins starting to break away from the 28 a little bit. These two, last time we saw them, were right on top of each other. And now coming to 80 laps to go. These two starting to separate, not by much, but just a little bit.
But I'll tell you what, separating, you see Chase Berry, I'm sorry, not Chase Berry, Chris Brown has pulled away from this group by over a second in about 3 laps. And even with that spin, he did not come in and fix any of his optional. So you can tell it's hurting them maybe a little bit, but not as bad as you think it is.
It's another ST2 Motorsports ride of Ellis Thomas in front of him. Again, 28 and 80 running Stand With Ukraine paint schemes here at Milwaukee. And I'm sure while the conflict is going on, they will be doing the same the entirety of that
who's
duration.
that just tagged the wall?
Not quite sure, Tony.
Evan, save it. That was Evan Pienta getting really squirrely coming out of 4. He tagged the wall and chased it down the whole front straightaway.
Well, Tony, there you go. It's turn 4 wall Pienta.
There we go. And for those of you who are wondering about what we're joking about, last week one of Evan's real-world friends chimed in the chat to call him Evan turn 4 Pienta.
He might catch that turn 4 wall again if, wow, he certainly got close to it.
He's flirting with it, that's for sure.
That's pushing hard off of these corners. And Tony, there isn't much to try to do to get this car back under control and save these tires again once you've already worn them down, right?
Pretty much, yeah. You're boned.
That's the technical term, correct?
Correct.
The wise words of Tony.
Chris Brown gets around Ellis Thomas. That will be for 7th. He's got 3.7 seconds to make up before he gets to Stephen Holmes ahead of him in 6th. But right now, I think he's got more to worry about with Ellis Thomas than we thought, as Thomas just does get clear of that number 1 in 3 and 4. Makes the pass. And Brown now trying to get back to the inside, Tony, and does get that position.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Brown did yeoman's work the last time we were here, so it's it's not surprising that he's got so much speed in that truck right now. And again, he would be a solid top 5 right now. Whoa!
Yep, got very close there. Did Ellis Thomas to the back end of that number 1, and that backed him up into the 17 of Chase Berry, who takes that momentum by coming off of turn 4 a little bit wider. And now Chase Berry will jump into the 8th position, dropping Ellis Thomas to 9th. As Barry again starting to move his way up towards the front. Also worth noting, Paul Thomas is no longer the last driver on the circuit. That would be Ryan Jones, who has returned after 15 minutes stationary in the pit box. He has come back. He is back on the racetrack, albeit a pretty severe amount of laps down. But back on the racetrack nonetheless to run to the conclusion of this race.
As you'd expect. And the big question that we've got to ask right now, Frank, who's going to blink first to get that final set of tires?
Absolutely. Is Jeff Pogo and Randy Bechdel. We're seeing, it's almost like tandem racing. We're seeing a lot of pair racing right now. Those pairs are running incredibly close, not really battling with each other, just trying to stick with each other and just log some laps. A huge gap, and then another pair battling, just trying to log some laps. A huge gap, and then another pair just trying to log some laps and move forward. Greg, do you see this as something that's a little bit more indicative of the car or the track around here?
It's more track. Certainly the trucks allow for a lot of close racing, with especially that big rear spoiler off the back really creates a lot of dirty air. but also creates a really big pocket for you to draft up to, which is why you see a lot of those 2 to 3 car groupings. But I think right now it's just kind of the short track advantage. Guys maybe running slightly different strategies on when they want to pit, how hard they ran in that first segment. I think that's what's really leading to these groups that you see running right now.
So Bechdel not that far behind. The 4 of Jeff Pogo, Scott Tompkins. It's a trio, but only 2 of those guys battling for position. Then it's Jamie Leach, who has picked up Stephen Holmes.
That's a slugfest going on right now.
Yeah, those two have been. I've been looking at the timing and scoring, and they've been flipping back and forth. Chandler Summers is going to be the first one to blink. And you can see that unique pit road entry around this racetrack. It's basically just a cutout in the wall that you really have to get right. And if you come out of turn 4 with a little bit too much momentum, you're going to have some big time problems trying to get woed up and turned into that little cutting.
Well, it's so easy to get run over from behind while you're trying to get woed down to make that entry.
Absolutely is what we'll do right now, while we are appearing as though we're just getting to the point of the race where people are starting to think about coming to pit road for tires for the money stop. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back. You are watching the TNT Truck Series right here on ESBN. Do not go anywhere. 60 laps to go here from the Milwaukee Mile. Just about to begin the final green flag pit stop run of this race. Jeff Pogo currently in the lead, followed closely by the 51 of Randy Bechdel. Frank Marchese, Tony Trapasso, and Greg McConey in the booth with you here tonight for round number 5 of the TickleZombie.com TNT Truck Series. And guys, we'll start with Tony. We've seen a bunch of great racing here tonight. Great close racing, little bit of controversy, not really controversy, but still a lot of fun here tonight at the mile.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm kind of watching right now. It's 13 of Jamie Leach. Just got fresh shoes put on that truck as he now works past second place, Randy Bechdel, and sets his sights on getting his lap back the hard way.
Almost running over the back there of the 4 of Jeff Pogo. We saw the 13 come into pit road while we were doing our side-by-side break there. Anthony Reynolds in pit road. Larry Poling in. Cody Levitt in. Evan Pienta also came in. Chandler Summers has gone down pit road as well. So a lot of guys coming into pit during that little bit of a break there that we had a little bit longer than usual to fix some technical issues. But other than that, we are all good to go here. Also worth note, during that break, Ryan Jones has pulled it off again. And I think for the final time tonight, as that number 7 has parked it once again on pit road. Field really starting to get spread out now. And during that break, Chris Smith able to get around the 25 of Scott Tompkins. And Greg has put quite an amount of space between himself and that Poblocki number 25 Chevy Silverado.
Yeah, and that's just the advantage, like we've talked about all night, of how much you burn off that right front or right rear based on how you've been driving.
Working with 56 laps to go here. As Tompkins starting to fall back, Stephen Holmes has lost his dancing partner with Jamie Leach coming into pit road.
Or not.
Pogo.
It looked like he was coming in. I stand corrected, and I apologize.
All good. So we're getting down to, we're 65 laps on this set of tires. So this is not the longest these guys have done on tires. If they want to do that, they'll be coming in around lap 160. So around 40 to go will match the longest run of the night on tires, as I think Pogo is going to be coming in now. He is. Coming in. Yep, here's Jeff Pogo in. Chris Smith trying to gain as much time on pit entry as he can. Comes down pit road.
This is really going to hurt Bechdel out front. He's going to have old tires. He's running about almost 2 full seconds slower than his qualifying and best times that he's run tonight. He's got to come in this time if he's going to have any chance to beat this undercut.
And it looks like he is.
Yep, here he comes now. Scott Tompkins doing the same. That 25 in as well. Got to get slowed up just in time to get to the back of those barrels there on pit entry. This will give Stephen Holmes the race lead. That's Evan Pienta on fresh tires behind him. The next car he has to worry about for position is about 3 cars behind. That is Chris Brown in the number 1. Ellis Thomas and Tommy Cannon came down pit road last time by as well. The lap before, Bechdel and Tompkins came down.
Pogo flashes by Bechdel as he's coming out of the pits.
Yep. That's Chris Smith has also jumped Randy Bechdel as well, so that'll move Bechdel down into the 3rd position. Good, almost 2 seconds off the back bumper of that number 4. And Chris Smith has pulled a worldly with that hard pit entry that he had. Smith has now closed the gap from about what it was between Pogo and Bechdel, now has closed it down to half a second as here comes Holmes and Chris Brown into pit road.
Your effective race lead is going to be the 13 of Jamie Leach when all this shakes out.
Yeah, absolutely. Here he comes. Second place has just swapped hands as Jonny Rapp, one of the drivers who has not come in. Only 2 drivers have not pit thus far. It would be Chase Barry, who is about to get a bonus point for leading a lap, and the 52 of Jonny Rapp. Those are the only 2 that have not yet come down pit road. And Jamie Leach, with a 1.1 second lead, saw him do a similar strategy at North Wilkesboro last year, Greg. Got out in front in the pit cycle. Now he's got to hold it. Doesn't look like it's all possible because he's got 12 lap older tires than that number 4.
Yeah, it's going to be tough for him. We've seen about 10 laps, almost a second's worth of fall off. So this 4 of Pogo is going to get around him real easily here.
And Pogo gets to that inside and will get the position. So Jamie Leach will have the effective race lead and lose it all before he can lead a lap. As Leach now falling victim to effective second position. Chris Smith, Randy Bechdel not that far behind. These 3 have gotten well away from Scott Tompkins, who is now trailing off of this top 3 by 3.5 seconds. Has Jonny Rapp for position behind him. The next car for position on him would now, with this pass, be the number 9 of Stephen Holmes. So this field now, while the top 3 are incredibly close, the rest of this field, Tony, very spread out.
As you would expect when you get a long green flag run like this. And it all depends on how hard you charge the line and how.
Sorry about that. Ellis Thomas. That was Ellis Thomas and Chandler Summers colliding. Summers trying to get into pit road. A little bit of miscommunication there between the 12 and the 80, and that was almost disastrous for both of those guys.
Yeah, that was looking like it was going to end about 8 different kinds of poorly, but Summers able to get down on pit road and get the service he needs on that 15 right now, or on the 12 right now. It's going to knock him back to 15th spot. I mean, I think he's going to lose another lap before all is said and done.
He's leaving pit road now. Is that number 12 of Chandler Summers? As these 2 up here at the front.
That's right there with him.
Well, as it's almost serendipitous, is it not? He's now on the back end of that number 80. And it goes back to, I think it was, what was it, Greg? 2013, that whole incident between Gordon and Boyer at Phoenix. The very next week, they both started on the front row together and raced around each other the entire race. That was Gordon's one and only win at Homestead.
Yeah, it's just karma that can come back. I don't think it was anything malicious, as we know. That was
absolutely
just,
not.
Possibly the 80 not. Yeah, exactly. Poor communication. 80 didn't hear him if he said it over the radio. We've all been in that scenario. Luckily, I think both are going to walk away with minimal damage, and they're both going to be fine going forward.
Well, from the looks of it, he texted it that he was pitting in. So it depends on where Ellis Thomas has his K-bar set to determine whether or not he actually saw that text come through. But yeah, no malicious intent there. And right now, we are still waiting on Chase Barry to bring it pit side.
Barry's still out in front. He's got 7 seconds. Well, make that 6.2 seconds, pardon me, to the front bumper of Jeff Pogo. And I'm sure Pogo would have appreciated if that 69 kept coming down as Poling realized that the 28 and 51 were starting to come up and jump right back to the outside. Does hold up Randy Bechdel a little bit, though, to the thanks of Chris Smith. Smith looking for his second consecutive podium finish here on the season. I've
said it before and I'll say it again. Chris Smith is due.
Yes, he absolutely is. So it shows battle for second on the graphic. This is the battle for the effective race lead and the laps that they came into pit on. So Pogo and Smith coming in together. Bechdel a lap later. But Greg, you know as well as anyone else that while you may have come in a lap later than the guy you're racing, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to continue to hold that one lap advantage. You can scrub that one lap of fresher tire off at any point in the run.
Oh, absolutely. And with it too, the fact, you came in a lap later, but that lap that you were out there, the other guy got a fresh set of tires and was running a faster lap time than you could be running. The other interesting thing is we talk about Chase Berry leading this thing right now. He's got 78 laps on this set of tires, and he took rights at the stage break. But along with that, you've also got Jonny Rapp. He pitted with 1 to go, and he's still running out there and hasn't come in for his pit stop either. Both those guys, I think, really right now are banking on a yellow coming out. And with that, Rapp, I think, still has 2 sets of tires, if I remember correctly.
Johnny, that one.
I think you're correct.
Yeah, that 1 to go that Greg referenced would have been the 1 to go before we go back to green to begin the 3rd stage. Came into pit on lap 83. Did the 52 of Jonny Rapp. Chase Berry came in the same lap as everybody else, lap 81, and is still chugging away. Now has 80 laps on that set of tires that he currently has strapped to the truck right now. 3 seconds clear of this trio here, which is the battle for the effective race lead. Hasn't changed much other than the gap between the 3 trucks, Tony.
Yeah, very much so. And you kind of expect that when you come to a place like Milwaukee.
Berry's coming in.
It looks like, Berry is coming in.
Jonny Rapp came in as well. Go ahead, Tony.
Well, I was going to say, Jeff Pogo has always been strong on the flat tracks. Chris Smith is strong on any track he goes to. He hasn't had the finishes that are indicative of the performance that he's shown. And then Randy Bechdel is Randy Bechdel, and he's going to do Randy Bechdel things.
As Pogo and Smith looking for their first wins of the season. For Smith, would be looking for his first win of his USRA career. Jeff Pogo will be looking for his first win. I would have to think going all the way back to season 5 in the Cup cars, seeing as though he did not win last season. Trying to take a look back through here really quick through season 5. Jeff Pogo won at the Nashville Fairgrounds back in season 5 in the Cup cars, so that would be the last time he has won. Meanwhile, Randy Bechdel looking for his 3rd win in a row.
Like I said, Randy Bechdel doing Randy Bechdel things.
2 very hungry drivers currently sitting in front of that number 1. Sitting in front of that number 51. And for Chris Smith, a big points night for him on the line. Jumped up into the 4th spot in points. Could jump as high as 2nd if he continues to hold on to the position he's in right now.
Very much so. And, these are the finishes that Chris deserves, the podium finishes week in and week out, because he puts in the work. And Greg, I'm sure you can attest to this. You can tell the guys that have put in the work during the week leading up to the race. They've turned the laps. They know what the tire model is going to do. They know where their entry points are, and they try to become almost robotic at it. So you get into that groove of gas, brake, gas, brake. Chris is one of those guys that puts in the work.
Yeah, and like you said, you want to get to that robotic kind of state. The advantage to doing that is, all right, I know where my braking points are always going to be. I know where what the car is going to do on the long run, on the short run, how I can adjust it. The downside to it is, unless you're running it with a bunch of other people, that draft and running around other cars and forcing yourself out of your quote-unquote robotic lane that you practiced can completely change the handling of the car not just on a short run for a lap, but all the way for an entire fuel run. That's the one thing. If you've got friends that you can get on with and run those kind of laps and practice and try those things, that's where you really see those guys kind of come alive.
So that's one of the things that the entirety of the Payday Racing team does. Bechdel and Jones and Summers,
Barry.
Barry. I mean, they get into a session and they'll set up a practice session, just the three of them, and they'll, one of them will play blocker car or lap car, if you will, and the other two have to maneuver their way around at speed, and then they'll switch. And, that's why that team has been so successful, is because they put in the work.
Talking about guys putting in work. Chris Brown now trying to put in work and continue his charge back up into the top 5. Now, there are 4 cars in this picture, but only 3 of them are for position. That would be the 13 of Jamie Leach, who currently occupies the 5th position. Chris Brown in 6th, and Stephen Holmes in the 7th position. Tommy Cannon currently running in the 13th position, 1 lap down as these guys sit. So these guys in their battle for 5th. Also, Chase Barry starting to move his way up towards the front again. Got past Evan Pienta a couple laps ago. Has put Ellis Thomas in his rearview mirror not that long after that. He is now up into 8th position, and with those fresher tires, by coming in on lap 162 when everybody else came in on lap 146 and 147, Greg, he may not win this race unless they get a caution, but he's certainly going to make up a lot more time than he would have if he would have pit with everybody else.
Oh, absolutely. And we talked about Jamie Leach kind of having that 12-lap older set of tires. Barry right now has 16 better laps that he's got fresher tires on. Like you said, he's sitting about 20 seconds back of the leaders. He's closing that gap, but you never know. Short track like this, if a caution comes out, I think everybody's coming in and grabbing that last set of tires, that if they've still got them, which I think just about everybody does. So right now, if you're Chase Berry, you're trying to run these things as hard as you can, knowing you don't have to worry about a full fuel run. You're good to go to the end. Really, really use them to your advantage here.
Chris Brown right now, and if a caution is going to come out, it's going to come out in this group of guys where they're going to be battling for position, racing hard as we're getting down to 25 laps to go. Tony, you want to try to get every position, try to get every point you possibly can. If a caution is going to come out, it's going to happen right around this trio or the front 3.
Yeah, because those are our 2 closest battles on track right now. But I know I'm jinxing this, and I want to apologize to Jeff Pogo ahead of time, but this is the exact same scenario that Jeff was in last year at this time. He had the lead with about 25 to go, had a couple car lengths advantage over the guys behind him, and they were all on a very similar pit strategy. So I got to think that, Pogo's in the catbird seat right now.
And I want to preface this by saying this is not a knock on Ryan Jones in any way, shape, or form. There is one big difference, though, between this year and last year, and that would be the temperament of the driver behind him. We know and we've seen by broadcasting 2 seasons of this series, Ryan Jones can be very aggressive at times and make some bold moves. We have not seen that out of Chris Smith. Now, battling for his first win in the history of this series for him, that might change that temperament a little bit. But Ryan Jones, we have seen him be a lot more aggressive in certain situations that may or may not call for it than we've seen Chris Smith.
Very much so, yeah. And the thing to keep in mind, too, Smith might be hungry for a win, but he's already stated in the past that, he's not the type of guy to use the chrome horn, the whole Earnhardt bump and run at Bristol kind of deal, where I didn't mean to wreck him, I just meant to rattle his cage. That's not Chris Smith. But if the opening is there, and he's gaining on Pogo. As a matter of fact, he's almost a full tenth quicker than Pogo is the last couple of laps. And with that lap car coming up, it might hold Pogo up just enough to let Chris Smith get a good run on him going into one.
It's the time delta between these two drivers, and you're right, that is Paul Thomas in the 42, holding these guys up just a little bit, allowing Chris Smith to gain a little bit more ground that he maybe wouldn't have without the 42 being in the way. Looks as though Randy Bechdel's kind of falling back, Greg, and just letting these two have at it. Already has 2 wins on the season, has a 37-point gap on Evan Pienta, who's mired down in 10th, so it's going to be a good points day for Bechdel no matter what. Just watch these two go at it. We've got 21 laps to go. Just sit back and enjoy the show.
Yeah, you absolutely sit back. Now, don't sit back far enough that you're falling away from that lead group, but you want to make sure you give yourself enough cushion right now. I expect Bechdel to make another charge here in about 5-10 laps. Let the tires cool off, especially cool that right rear, and then about 10 to go, he's got to be going full throttle if he's going to try and make a move. But right now, stay with that group. Don't let them get too far away from you. But give yourself a little cushion in case those two decide to get together and you do get a little bit of the meeting of the minds. Make sure you give yourself an out.
Jeff Pogo still, now he's really starting to get away from Chris Smith. That last time around, Pogo a 31.9 to Chris Smith's 32.16. So that 28 is starting to fall off a little bit. Ford not going to be too happy with Larry Poling there, but Poling does get up and out of the way going into turn 1 to allow that for some clear passage. And now Evan Pienta running in that 10th spot, last car on the lead lap. This is a big one for Jeff Pogo. These two being relatively friendly. I'm sure Pienta's not going to be too happy about getting lapped, but I don't think Pogo's going to have too much of a hard time getting around that 00.
No, and Pienta knows that he doesn't have the pace tonight. He's got a lot of damage on the right side of that truck, and Greg, like you mentioned, it's kind of weird just how much wall contact really can hurt in these trucks. It's almost like cutting off your nose to spite your face. It's not worth the what is it? The punishment doesn't fit the crime.
Yeah, absolutely. And this far in, we'll have 17 laps, 16 at the line. There's still a chance. It's still a long way to go, and especially knowing that group that was running so close together, about 5th to 8th place right now. They were all running real close together. There's always a chance something's going to happen. A lap car is going to miss a cue from the leader. But right now, if you're Jeff Pogo, you're just getting into that robotic state. I'm going to run the same lap, same line every single time in, time out. Chris, though, is kind of falling off a little bit. You've seen him searching. He's diving the corner a lot harder than he was. You see him here. He's running that middle entry to try and get that straight line exit, really trying to save that right rear tire. And you see the same thing of, did Bechdel just tag the wall there? He's been flirting with it. I've been watching him flirt with it. So they're both just searching for grip, especially that straight line exit. And that's the disadvantage of the wake that the cars put off and all that dirty air. It really tightens up the front end of that car.
Well, you bring up a good point that I was about to ask. With Smith running so close to Pogo as he was a few laps prior to this, did he burn the right front off in the dirty air?
Absolutely. If you're riding right behind a guy and you're sitting right in his draft, you have no air pushing onto the front of your car to help push that front end in and give those tires that little bit of extra grip. The best thing to do that I've found from racing is kind of offset yourself more to the right it kind of helps that car stay free and not tighten up. If you're on that left side and you get tight because you've got no air coming to that right front, it pushes you up, and it just gets even worse because then you go from half your car sitting in a draft, now your entire car is sitting in a draft, and then you get to the loose side of the draft. So if you're sitting there, and Chris was kind of riding right in his wake, so I definitely think it hurt that right front a lot more than he had been hoping for, or really kind of anticipated.
And you talked about earlier, you talked about being very close to each other, and just now you'd mentioned the draft. And I hope these guys are quite comfortable with that, because we got Talladega next week. And if you thought this track was going to be difficult, Talladega is going to be a completely different beast come this time next Thursday.
Boy, howdy is it going to be.
So with 12 laps to go, Jeff Pogo's starting to get away from Chris Smith, but it looks like Chris Smith is starting to make a little bit of a charge back up towards the 4. Randy Bechdel not having that late race charge, Greg, that you had mentioned that he was possibly setting up. So Bechdel looks content to sit in that 3rd position, and when you have a 6-second gap to Scott Tompkins currently running in 4th, that's a position you can be content to be in. Chris Brown, about another 5 seconds behind Tompkins, has a 2nd and a 3rd on Stephen Holmes, but Brown has a lot of cars right in front of him, and guys that are in the middle racing for position, not on the lead lap.
Yeah, but again, I mean, great recovery drive from Chris Brown. We saw, to bring out the second caution, we saw him get it sideways after the second stage break, got it loose coming off a 2 on cold tires, and he's had to climb back up through the field. So the fact that he's running in 5th is nothing short of miraculous right now.
Absolutely. He's got the battle for 11th place right in front of him. That's Chris Hohn in the red, black, and white, number 85, battling with the number 52 of Jonny Rapp. That is for position. Now, Rapp has 21 lap fresher tires than that 85, and Rapp has really been flying up through this field. So Rapp, you would have to think, is going to collect that 11th place position away from Chris Hohn, and that's pretty much the ceiling. Is with 8 laps to go, a 10.5 second gap up to Evan Pienta. This is the fight for as high as they can be, right, Craig?
Yeah, these guys are a lap down right now. Unless there's a caution and those leaders come in, there's not really much more. You're not going to chase that leader down of Pogo as he's running as hard as he is right now. So these guys are just fighting amongst themselves, honestly fighting for that lucky dog spot, for the chance that you get something in these last 8-9 laps. But like you were saying, that this is about their ceiling. That's going to be is about that 10th place.
Well, it wouldn't be for the lucky dog spot. That would be Evan Pienta's position.
It's about to be Ellis Thomas's.
Yep, as Ellis Thomas, you're right, is going to, well,
ooh,
boy, he got out of the way.
Yeah, he did. Just immediately pulls to the left, gets flat out of the leader's way, and he announced that he was doing that prior to him doing that. So Pogo knew where he was going.
Tony, you bring up every now and again about not wanting to be that guy. I think Ellis Thomas made very clear that he is not going to be that guy here tonight.
You are correct, sir.
Announced
it and did it.
Exactly. And while we were watching Ellis Thomas cross county lines to make sure he didn't get involved with the leaders, Jonny Rapp has gotten around Chris Hohn for the 11th position. As we have 6 laps to go, and right now Jeff Pogo finds himself at a 1.3 second lead, his biggest lead of this run. And as Chris Smith outbrakes himself going into turn 1, that gap is going to grow to a 2.5 seconds.
As Pogo works around the lap truck, that is the 42. 42?
There's a Paul Thomas.
There we go. I got to get this new monitor dialed in. Sorry.
It's all right. Paul Thomas now falling 5 laps off the pace.
And we got 4 to go.
It moves well up and out of the way of that number 28 of Chris Smith. Only 3 retirees here tonight. We didn't mention it, but on lap 133, Cody Levitt had pulled off, and we saw him get really battered from behind by Tommy Cannon after the first caution that was not a stage caution came out. So only Cody Levitt, Ryan Jones, and Dan Dill, the 3 retirements on the evening here tonight, as Jeff Pogo, 2.5 laps to go, Greg. Wasn't his race in the first half. Certainly showed some muscle. Certainly showed that he had the pace. But here in this second half, he has done nothing but dominate this race.
Absolutely. And the key to that, I think, was the lap sooner that he got in before Bechdel. That kind of gave him that 1.5 gap that he's kind of been holding steady to Bechdel right now, as well as that clean air. That clean air of not having to worry about those cars ahead of you has been crucial for helping him save those tires better than anybody else.
It absolutely has been. And for Pogo, again, we had mentioned it before. For those of you just joining us here in the last couple of laps, this will be Jeff Pogo's first win since the Nashville Fairgrounds back in the Cup cars in Season 5. If he can hold on for just another mile, 2 more corners here at the Milwaukee Mile, and an avenging performance from last season after getting punted going into turn 3 on the final lap. He'll make it through turn 3 this time. Doesn't have to worry about lightning striking twice. Coming out of turn number 4 to victory lane goes the number 4. Jeff Pogo wins round number 5 here at the Milwaukee Mile.
That was a well-fought victory, too. He had 2 strong trucks chasing him down in that final stint. And, the fact that Pogo was able to bring it home and close this one out makes up for last season, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Chris Smith comes home in 2nd. Randy Bechdel 3rd. Scott Tompkins 4th. Chris Brown rounds out the top 5. But we've seen it so often with so many of the other series that we've broadcasted here on the network here recently. It's a tale of 2 halves. You usually get one guy who dominates the first half of the race, and then you get the guy who figures it out and dominates the second half of the race, and we saw the same thing here tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And, the fact that, Pogo was able to hang on like he did, that it goes to show you that he's one of those guys that I mentioned earlier who is not afraid to put in the work at this track. The line he was running, and like Greg and I were talking about earlier, it was robotic in the closing laps. He didn't deviate maybe but a wheel width off of his line consecutively every lap.
Absolutely, as we will get a chance to talk to him here in just a moment. It'll be Tony and Greg handling the interviews here this evening. As Tony, I believe Jeff Pogo is with you right now.
Jeff Pogo, I believe the phrase you're looking for is vengeance is mine. Congratulations on getting your first win in a couple of seasons here in the USRA TNT Truck Series, brought to you by TickleZombie.com.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Talk us through what was going through your mind in the closing laps, because we saw you had a very similar lead over Chris as you did last season at this same time. Was there any fear whatsoever that we might see a replay?
No, I don't think Chris races like that. We wouldn't have to worry about it at all. I thought he had something for me there at the end, and I guess his right front tire started to give off, but I got to give hats off to him and Randy both.
Yeah, absolutely. They both had a good run going on you, but you were able to hang on for the victory. Talk us through that tire strategy. Were you expecting, when you peeled off to go down pit road to get your money stop done, were you thinking Randy was going to go with you, or did you just time it just right so he couldn't?
I wouldn't really say I timed it right to where he couldn't, but I figured as soon as I started, he was going to follow, and so was Chris and everybody else. Tire fall off was just too big here, so you couldn't really give a whole bunch up to the leader. I know when Jamie and Steve peeled off and got tires, I saw how fast they passed me back to get their lap back. I knew I had to pit.
Sounds about right. But I mean, again, Jeff, hats off to you. With coming home with the victory tonight, and looking forward to next week. What are your thoughts going into that one?
I don't know what to expect yet.
Well, I mean, it is Talladega.
It's actually the Roval. I had the schedule mixed up.
Okay, well, that's even more of a conundrum.
Yeah.
These trucks don't like to turn on an oval, let alone throwing them right and left.
Yeah, it's gonna be a fun one because some of these guys don't like turning right, not on purpose, anyways.
Some of these guys have a hard enough time just turning left. But again, Jeff, congratulations on your first victory on the season. Who do you need to thank before we let you go celebrate?
You guys, of course, being up in the booth. Everybody shows up every week. Got to thank Eric, even though he's not been here a lot so far this season. I know he's traveling a lot for work, but he puts in a lot of work doing points and stuff when he can, and he's not in an airplane. So got to thank that. And just, everybody, teammates, Dan Dill, Steve Holmes, Chris Brown, Cody Levitt, everybody. I mean, it's fun to have a good group of guys out here to race with every week. It's hard to beat. It's just a good time.
Absolutely. Well, Jeff, best of luck to you next week on the Roval, and hopefully we're talking to you again at the end of the race.
Thanks, sir.
And Greg, I believe you've got Chris Smith with you now.
Greg McConey, kind of the new guy in the booth. You guys put on a heck of a race tonight. And for a first race watching this, I could not have been more impressed with the runs that you guys were putting together. You there, Chris? Don't hear you if you're talking, my friend.
He's flickering with the mic in Discord here, so he's
trying.
As I told Tony, unfortunately we can't do sign language over a voice chat, but still trying to get it to work here. So you know what? I think what we'll do is we'll hold off on Chris and Greg. We'll let you interview our third place finisher tonight, Randy Bechdel.
Randy, Greg McConey up in the booth with ESBN. First time here tonight. You guys put on a heck of a race. For me, up watching it, you guys just made runs happen that I was surprised seeing. Tell us about your night.
It was a good night overall. Wish I could have the first half of the race back again. The second half wasn't very good for me. I'm not quite sure what happened, but congrats to Pogo in the win. He definitely got it figured out in the second half. Other than that, the truck was really tight. I don't really know what happened. Maybe it was super, super, super hot out, which I'm assuming it was. But other than that, wish I had the first half of the race back.
Yeah, you talk about that first half. You started out on pole, take it home P3. You were just putting on an absolute clinic with these guys to begin. Now, we saw with that second stage, you and Pogo and Chris were all kind of running together, and Pogo beat you in by a lap. Was that something that you were just sticking to your own schedule, or were you trying to time it with him and he just caught you off guard possibly?
I really didn't have a strategy when I went to pit. I was thinking around 150, but then he pitted, so I was like, I need to come in right away. I thought at least one lap would be helpful, but I don't know, maybe it was dirty air kept me from getting up there. I honestly might have been pushing a little too hard in turn one because it's not a very fun corner to drive if you guys have done it.
Yeah, it looked like a lot of guys were struggling on that entry into one, and especially that exit of 4. We saw you a couple times flirting with that wall. Was that just from? We know there was a high wind tonight. Was that something that you guys were feeling in the truck, or was that just tire wear as the runs went on?
It might have been the wind. I couldn't really tell, but I definitely was running a little close to the wall there a few times. I think I might have grazed it once or twice, but didn't really hurt it at all.
Yeah, well, you've got the point lead right now by a good 40 points as of coming into tonight's race. Good point night sitting in third. What's your feelings going to the Roval next week?
Oh, I'm all right at road courses. I can't remember if I've ever driven the Roval yet, so I'm gonna have to get a little bit more practice than usual. So, but we'll see.
Well, Randy, it was an honor to help call this race for you guys tonight. Appreciate you doing such a great job and making it fun for us. Who do you got to thank?
I want to thank all my teammates, Chase, Ryan, the OGR guys, Jeff and Eric for putting on USRA, and of course you guys for broadcasting.
Absolutely, man. It was a pleasure to watch you race. Happy to have you in the booth here. And good luck next week at the Roval.
Thank you, guys.
Right, and while Tony is checking on the status of Chris Smith, is he good to go, Tony?
We're about to find out.
All right, so Tony's with our second place finisher, trying for the second time tonight, Chris Smith.
Chris Smith, this is getting monotonous. Second week in a row, you're the bridesmaid, but excellent run here at the Milwaukee Mile.
Hey, I appreciate it. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I felt like it was the exact opposite this week to last week. Last week I had a little bit better long run pace, and tonight I was a little bit better on the short run. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Had fun racing with all these guys tonight.
Well, this track is so easy to burn the right front off of. When you were battling with Pogo there, Greg and I were talking that it looked like you may have been getting a lot of aero wash off of the 4, and that may have really hampered your long run pace, burning up that right front.
Yeah, it was a struggle being right behind somebody, and I learned some things earlier behind Scott. With my line, I wasn't really doing a very good job early in the race. That first run, I really destroyed the right front, but it was a lot better there towards the end. So yeah, had a great time, and it was just happy to bring it home second.
Well, we shift gears literally going into the next week as the series goes to the Roval at Charlotte. Now there's a track you got to worry about burning the right and the left front off the truck.
Yeah, for me, it's going to be all about survival, baby. That's all I'm interested in. I just want to get to the end of it, keep it on track. I'm not the best road racer by any stretch, so I'm just going to try to limit the mistakes, keep it on the track, and try to bring it home.
Well, I'll give you the same quote that Richard Petty used at one time. In order to finish first you must finish, and best of luck to you next week at the Roval. Who do you need to thank tonight for the podium?
I need to thank my teammates, Ellis and Paul Thomas. I need to thank Jeff and Eric for putting on the league here. I want to thank you guys for doing a great job with the broadcast. And last but not least, I want to say stand with Ukraine.
Very, very strong words there, and sentiments well deserved, as we're all, standing with the Ukraine. Best of luck to you next week at the Roval, sir.
Thank you very much. Y'all have a good night.
You too.
So that will be your second place finisher tonight, Chris Smith, and that will conclude the interview portion of tonight's race. Greg, you've seen it from behind the wheel for darn near 2 years now. This is your first time with us being on this side of it. Think you got a career in this?
I don't know about a career, but this it was so much fun to be up here with you guys. You guys always make these broadcasts light and fun and very insightful. So it was my absolute pleasure to be able to get up here with you guys. I had so much fun, and I can't thank you two enough for allowing me to be here, and hopefully we get to I get to bring you to my side of the windscreen in these next few weeks. Hopefully we get to race with you guys at some point.
I'm thinking
Pleasure was ours.
Absolutely. I'm thinking tomorrow night might be one of those nights, possibly. Don't quote me on it, but there's a chance. We'll go back to the race for both of you guys. Now, we'll start with Tony. A very, very good run tonight from all of these guys. A lot of close racing, a lot of good battling, and only 2 cautions for a racetrack that usually when we see it on a schedule, we have
cringe.
Yeah, exactly. We have our own little PTSD from running on this track and from races like this, from other series on tracks like this. But
And I might want to point out those are series that we no longer broadcast for a reason.
Absolutely. And only 2 cautions other than the stage cautions for pretty much single car spins.
Yeah, it was just, guys going in too hot or, on cold tires. And, the fact that we saw so much clean racing, we saw so many side-by-side battles all night long, and nobody really got into anybody with malice. That's the biggest takeaway from here, is everybody kept their emotions in check, raced hard but raced clean. And, that's something that a lot of leagues should take note of.
Yeah, absolutely. And Greg, again, the close racing, I'm sure you probably saw some moves here tonight and some ways of racing and just kind of independent little thoughts that you could probably take into Monday night, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's the nice thing is with these trucks, they kind of carry over in some form and fashion to some of the other series, like you see with the Xfinity and now the next gen. Mainly with this aero draft that they've got and how that's going to affect the cars. You heard Chris talk about it of how he sat behind Pogo for those 10, 15 laps and how it hurt that right front tire so much more than he was anticipating, or if he'd been, kind of maybe offsetting the car to the right side a little bit or something like that. That's just information, how you're diving the corner, where you can make those kind of moves is all stuff that'll carry over from week to week and honestly from car to car or truck to truck.
And in your case, from series to series, as we'll go now into the final results here for tonight's race. Jeff Pogo, Chris Smith, and Randy Bechdel, we've heard from them. Our podium finishers tonight, Scott Tompkins and Chris Brown, rounding out the top 5. Stephen Holmes, Chase Barry, Jamie Leach, Ellis Thomas, and Evan Pienta rounding out the top 10. Jamie Leach, the final car to finish on the lead lap here tonight. Jonny Rapp and Chris Hohn round out the top half of the field, Tony.
Anthony Reynolds coming home in 13th. Tommy Cannon and Chandler Summers rounding out your top 15. Mike Mock not going to have the night he was hoping for, coming home in 16th. Valerie Poling in 17th. Paul Thomas in 18th. And as we mentioned earlier, Cody Levitt, Ryan Jones, and Dan Dill all deciding to put it on the hauler early.
So those are only 3 retirements at a racetrack that can be very, very difficult on anyone it decides it wants to be. So coming up, again, 7 races coming up over the next 3 days. 3 races on Friday, 4 races on Sunday. The Circle B Diecast Super Speedway Series will be at Talladega tomorrow night. That'll be an 8:20 p.m. Eastern Time start. Also, the KMM New Gen Cup Series will be at Las Vegas, a 9:20 p.m. Eastern Time start. And then a brand new series to the network, Wicked Sim Racing, will open up their season at Daytona starting tomorrow night. Saturday we have off before we have 4 races coming up on Sunday. It'll be the iFormula Championship Round 4, the San Marino Grand Prix from Imola. That will be at 3:20 p.m. Eastern Time. The ISNF Cup Series will be at Bristol at 5:20 p.m. Eastern Time. And then we have Sunday Night NASCAR and Fuel tomorrow night, on Sunday night as well. So for my broadcast partners, Tony Trapasso and Greg McConey, I am Frank Marchese. Thank you very much for making us a part of your evening, and we will see you all next week from the Charlotte Roval here with the TNT Truck Series. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Night, everyone.